Hello and welcome in. I am Miss Kinghorn and we are back here in the Red Lane Zoo, and today we are building a habitat for the Ocelot, which was not what I'm planning on doing right this very second in the video. This was originally going to be the capuchin monkey habitat. It was supposed to be an all indoors, quite a small habitat in there with like a nice triangular roof. It was gonna kind of be the focal point for this sort of building that we're working on. And then I kind of looked at it and thought, it doesn't quite work. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't. So in the end it changed, and we've now added in an external part to this habitat, which we are now doing for the Ocelot. So we only literally have two more animals after this one. We have got the coyote and the Colombian white-faced capuchin monkeys. That's literally it going into here, and then obviously we have the zoo tour right at the end. So I was kind of like, oh, this is going to nicely ease our way all the way up to the launch of Planet Zoo 2. Yeah, I don't quite know what's going to happen. We may be taking a little break to kind of get ourselves up there. That wasn't the plan originally, and I really didn't want to do that, but I feel like I've done this a little bit too quickly, because it was only like a couple of weeks ago I said, oh, we've got like 6 habitats to do, and we've got all of this, and yeah, honestly, what on earth has happened to the time? Anyhow, back to this, what we were working on today. Now, when I was placing the animals in the last episode, I noticed it was taking a really long time for them to actually get here, and I had a look at where the animal trading point is, and it's not far away as the crow flies, but as the pathing network goes, it took forever to get here. And honestly, I was just like, it needs to be a lot quicker than that. So I decided to put in some more staff buildings in here. So we have the medical vet clinic in, and we also have the quarantine area in here. And then we will be placing in like some of the other staff buildings. We do have behind me, we have like the keeper hut and the staff room. So they kind of have those over here as well, but I'm kind of spacing them out a little bit so that they're not quite all in one big bulky place. And I've got to be honest with you, the way that this kind of works, it fits slightly better, because I didn't want this habitat to be ridiculously large, whether that's for the capuchin monkey or for the Ocelot in here, and it kind of gives you a bit more of a belief, I guess, that this area is for like the backstage area, where it's not in game, but that's kind of what it looks like in terms of sort of how I want the guests to view it, that sort of thing in here. Now, who on earth decided a nice curved piece would fit in here perfectly? What you didn't notice is the multiple attempts I had at actually getting this to kind of fit in there, and then we go to a nice right angle. So much easier on that side over there, if I'm being honest. But you can kind of see this has basically pathing 3 sides of this habitat. I have used the one-way glass, which is what we have used in all of the other habitats, because these are basically quite close together. I think in some cases they're like a 5-meter path coming through this house. I didn't want the animals to see each other, especially because I imagine that maybe like the Ocelot here would hunt the like sucker and things like that I didn't want there to be any kind of like, I can see a predator, they're gonna come and eat me, yada yada yada. I didn't really want that, so that's kind of why we use the one way, and also it just gives them a little bit more privacy from the guests because I've got to be fair, when I was taking some of the cinematics at the end, there is a group of people that are like jumping up and down, shouting at the glass, tapping, like, well, not tapping it, but they're like poking at what I would imagine would be the glass. They're not quite there yet, but I just didn't want them to be quite so, yeah, there in the way for the animals and things like that in there, and it just gives them a nice little bit of privacy. Now I have jumped ahead and I have done some changes, so you'll notice there is a little kind of 4 meter by like maybe 8 meter or even possibly 12 meter sort of section in here. This has basically got their bedding in. It's also got their water in there as well. It's just behind the staff buildings down the side here. It's nothing really of any interest. It just made it so that this was slightly smaller sort of walkway between the two. I kind of in my head had this image of like the sort of this really narrow path where they would walk through, and that's kind of what I tried to bring in to here, and I think I managed to get it to work. The animals can use it. I have placed down a lot of mulch, as you can see in here, and I do end up actually placing quite a few plants in there, but I did check that it is all accessible for them, and it is also accessible to like the keeper, but I did make sure that we didn't place any food or anything like that in there, just because I wasn't going to be 100% sure off the top of my head whether it was going to be safe for the keepers. So all the food is kind of outside, which is where the habitat gate is into there, but then the water and some of their other toys and that are. This is where I kind of decided we're going to need to go for a bigger animal in here. So we are placing the enrichment for the Ocelot down. I have copied and pasted essentially the climbing structure that we use for the sluggers. We've also used it in other parts of the zoo. It's pretty standard in here. It's just like the sort of thin posts and then lots of planks over the top in here. It does provide them with a really nice elevated sleeping area, and you'll see that actually in the cinematics they do use it. That is one thing I am super looking forward to in Planet Zoo 2, and we have got so much more news since the last episode for that as well, is the changing in climbing. When I was taking the cinematics for this, I had my head in my hands watching them climb, because they're floating. They're jumping to walk a step, because technically the bits of wood plinths are too far away to step on, and they're not fully solid, so they're like jumping, and it just, honestly, it does not make any sense. So yeah, when I saw the I think it was the jaguar climbing or leopard or something like that climbing, I was happy. We're finally fixing climbing, and we're gonna have some branching, and yes, literally kind of a lot of the things I really wanted I think are coming to Planet Zoo 2. Scaling is one thing I have issues with, either too big or too small, especially in like planting and things like that. Climbing, as I just said, into there. I'm hoping hitboxes are going to be a little bit smaller for all of the animals, so that we can kind of make these really nice dense kind of habitats for them. I know throughout the whole sort of series of this game, the hitboxes did get smaller, but I'm kind of hoping that they get even smaller, possibly. But we did just have the sort of episode, mini little trailer, I guess you can kind of call it, in there about birds. Super looking forward to them. My fears of aviaries have been completely depleted. I am now happy with how they work. And yeah, we're getting nests, and we're getting quite small juveniles, at least in terms of what the owls look like. They were adorable, throwing that in there, but yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to sort of see the animals like have maybe 2 or 3 kind of like sizes. So they start very, very small and then they kind of like grow every few months before they become adults, because it didn't quite make sense that like a tiger cub was so big and then it just suddenly was adult size, the same size as the parent. It didn't really make too much sense to me, but then that maybe is me trying to put a little bit of logic into a game without any idea what I'm doing. So yeah, but I'm super excited for the nestings, the nest boxes, the fact that we've also going to be able to put like cameras in so that we can sort of see what's happening in the nest boxes. I'm hoping we're going to be able to put that into one of like the screens, so like the educational boards, so if the guests can't see it, they can sort of say, oh, the parent is on a nest, sort of thing, like, oh, we might come back in a few months and see the baby. That kind of thing is what I was sort of thinking in my head, hoping that we're going to be able to get. But obviously we'll learn more about that over time into that. I think we can kind of do that at the moment with the burrows. I do believe we can link those to a screen. Let me know if I'm wrong with that, but I think I'm right in terms of that sort of how that works into there. But yeah, we're pretty much done with the internal area of this habitat. I am just placing down some final little touches and lighting that we're going to get in through here. I am also going to run these all the way along. Now this whiteboard, I wasn't sure how high I really wanted this to go. This habitat, like the walls of this, is 4 meters, but I know some of the other habitats are like 6 meters high, so I'm gonna end up having to change that when we come back and do the roofing, which we're gonna work on right now, because I've already forgotten the order, into here. Now we're just basically going to do a flat roof across this. We did place down this kind of curved kind of pointed roof here in the middle, which I like. It proved to be a little bit more challenging, but I did actually like the feature. Now this is actually taken from the Predator house in I think it's Berlin Zoo, and so how that kind of all worked together, but I didn't fancy doing the big sort of triangle glass window in here, so this is kind of my safer option, I guess we can sort of say, into here about how this all works, and delete the middle piece and forget about the one that I forgot to fix. Anyway, we'll move on from that into here. So yeah, because the roofing was a different sort of size, I did think about putting mesh all the way around, but it just didn't quite work. So I just used those sort of big plaster white sort of slabs that we've used pretty much throughout the zoo, if I'm being honest. But yeah, we use those, and they provide a nice sort of colour differential to Ocelot. Now I apologise about the lighting here. This habitat it's in one of those weird little spots where we don't get too much light coming through, and so yeah, it's going to be a bit of a strange one looking at it from sort of this sort of angle into here, but as we move further out into the habitat, it does get a lot brighter. And yeah, now copying and pasting a lot of I feel like I've done a lot of copy and paste in this habitat of this sort of rock work. Now these are the walls that we created right back at the beginning, and they've not really changed a great deal throughout all of this. Into here, they still provide that really nice feature and a kind of that consistency that I really wanted throughout all of this as well. Now, as you can see here, we are creating one of many viewing areas for this sort of habitat in here. Now, what we do is create lots of different sort of angles. So whereas the indoor section was basically all glass, again following the one-way glass, because I didn't want these animals to escape, I didn't want these animals to be like traumatized and seeing people, so I've kind of kept it to the one way. But what I have done is made it so that you can't see everything, like you have to look through different windows to kind of see different parts of this habitat. And I feel like that's one of the things that I actually really like about certain zoo habitats, is that it makes you look at it from different angles to see more things, to see different angles, to see the water is only sort of visible from like one or two areas, sort of those sorts of things into there, rather than just sort of everything being open and things like that. And I've kind of, when I did the planting as well, I did make a point of trying to hide certain areas from different viewpoints. You can't really see another window from a window. You can a little bit, but not too much. I think that makes sense. Am I just talking absolute nonsense that nobody understands? Let me know. I feel like sometimes I do that into here, but what we're going to basically do is slowly work our way around this habitat sort of barrier into here, and creating some little plants, sort of planting areas and spaces where guests can, it just breaks it up a little bit, I think is one way that I would put it into here. Now this proved to be a little bit more fun and challenging than I was really expecting, simply because these stones, these are the little artificial mini stones that I think work better than sort of some of the bigger ones, especially for things like this. It just proved a little bit more challenging to kind of create a nice random sort of look for all of this into here. But yeah, I didn't want perfect because, well, I knew I was not going to be able to do perfect into here. But just creating lots of these and then using plants that we have pretty much used throughout the zoo. So some of the cabbage plants, the buffalo grass that you know I absolutely love into there. And just pulling out a few of my favourites into here and just trying to make things look a little bit softer. I feel like this sort of harsh stone wall is very harsh and very kind of in your face a little bit, and it needs to be, don't get me wrong, but just softening it up with some plants in there just kind of creates a really nice little area where it's not so harsh and in your face, and things like that into there. Now I have created a little bit of an area there where it's not going to be accessible to the guests to kind of view from. I did try to put a path in there, but honestly it was just too big, so you can sort of see here it just does not work. So we're going to play pretend that sort of guests can access that area in there, but they can't. It's a good place for a bin and things like that, which we do sort of later on into there. But now coming around, we've got another sort of soft curve in here, and then we also have another right angle. I am all about the angles in this episode. Into there, and we're going to delete some of that. It's me not knowing what I'm doing. I've got to be honest, I did do a lot of block recording, so this may have taken place like a couple of weeks ago. Into here, I basically went from one habitat straight onto the next one, and then thought I need to edit and upload. I'm gonna stop. Into there. Before I got too far ahead of myself and we finished the whole zoo before I upload anything. Into here, another nice little planter. This one is very small. It's just kind of softening out that sort of triangular kind of path in there. I could have changed the path so that it's a little bit softer here, but to be honest, trying to fix that out. Sometimes with the pathing it's easier just to leave it as a right angle than worry too much about sort of softening corners and stuff. Now, this is technically the path you're seeing. I have not yet placed the sort of the path texture that I really want, so that plaster will come on later on. I think I do that off camera because it takes forever, and once you've seen it once, you've seen it like 100 times. Anyhow, we have now placed in another window over here. Again, copying and pasting. I feel like I do that a lot. Anyhow, into here. Now, this is where we actually get the keeper gate into this section just over here, so they have access to the outside area in there. But we do that when I place the barriers and things like that. But now we're going to actually create a nice little water section in here. I didn't necessarily know whether they wanted water, but having a quick look at some other real life zoos, they tend to have water options in most habitats, because even animals that typically don't like water, they still like getting a drink from natural water. So I kind of placed quite a large one down here. I actually did it a little bit maybe too deep. The animals do have a little bit of an issue swimming. I say issue, they can swim, and you sort of see that in some of the cinematics because it's actually got some of the best video and camera shots right in the water here. I don't make it the only way that they could access half of this habitat, but I kind of make it a focal point of this habitat. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking in my head when I was creating this, that I wanted them to be able to sort of use it and enjoy it and things like that. So yeah, now we're just going to come in and place some rocks down just to kind of soften up some of the terrain in here, especially kind of around this sort of water area, because otherwise it doesn't look man-made, let's put it that way. And everything that basically goes into a zoo is man-made because they are completely sort of fabricated habitats for them in here. But I have placed down lots of these, and then we have this sort of raised up section on the other side, which we do get in quite a few sort of big bushes and plants in here as well, just to kind of break this up. Now, I don't know how much sort of land that we actually have in here. We only needed for 1 male and 1 female and 2 juveniles, which we have not yet had. I have a feeling I've turned off breeding. It may just have been one of those boo-boos that I did when I changed the settings, because none of my habitats recently have had young. I was having a look through all of the sort of animals that we have. We have hundreds of butterflies. I've got to be fair, the butterflies I need to like do a mass reduction in numbers, shall we say, in here. But yeah, none of them from the suckers. The tapirs didn't have them. Like nothing recently has had babies. So I've got a feeling I've changed the setting somewhere for the wrong way. But yeah, anyway, totally random off point. We only needed 756 meters squared of land for this. We didn't need any water, and I don't actually think we needed a climbing restriction, if I'm remembering correctly. However, I've placed both in. I just feels like it's a little bit more natural, and they would normally be up in like trees, and they would sort of be chilling at height and stuff. And I think any cat, whether that's your domestic cat at home or a lion or a tiger or something, they always want to be up, elevated. I know my cat does. She likes sitting on the roof of our shed in there. It is a tin roof, I've got to be honest, but yeah, she does like sitting up there come rain, shine, snow. Yeah, she's usually found on the roof, regardless of whether we want her indoors or not. Into that, so I just decided to do a nice little elevated section for them. But we're now placing down some of the planting. So as I said, there is a lot of buffalo grass in here. It just provides a really nice grassy kind of base layer to everything. in here. And then we've kind of got in some sort of taller grasses. We've got in some ferns and some palms, and also the big rhubarb in there as well. I love that plant in real life as well as sort of in game. It's just a really nice big block plant that you can't really see too much through, which, as I said, was one of the ideas for what I really wanted for all of this. Now we're stealing this tree from over here, from this very deserty habitat on this side over here, and just adding in this. Now technically this is climbing. I have not seen any of them climb it. I don't know why, but yeah, that's just one of the things. We are quickly coming up to the end of this habitat. If you have liked this video, then please thumbs up and subscribe. But I'll see you next time. Bye everyone!